This is Showtime, a podcast about the people behind the curtain and the stories that shape them. I'm Andrew G, and each week I sit down with creative leaders and risk takers from the theatre world and beyond. We talk about what they do, why they do it, and what it really takes to keep showing up. Today we dive into the Forgotten Songbook with co-creators Dylan McBurnie and Emerson Hurley, a new musical with a twist. It resurrects some lost songs of a Broadway legend. Or does it? We talk history, homage, and the fear of being forgotten. Welcome to Showtime, Dylan McBurnie and Emerson Hurley.
Hi,
Hello.
It's lovely to be here.
Thank you so much for coming in. I guess let's start at the start. What's the Forgotten Songbook?
Well, the Forgotten Songbook is our show. It's a review with a bit of a twist. It's a review of music that hasn't really been heard in decades. Wilbur Weissman was one of the greats of the Broadway stage back in the golden age. He wrote a lot of shows back in the 30s and 40s, but history hasn't been kind to him, and he's more or less fallen out of the canon. He's been forgotten, and we are resurrecting his legacy and putting on this show of his life and his music.
And what's the spark that first brought this project to life?
I'm a Wilbur Weissman fan. I'm a bit of a fanatic, actually. He was a big deal in my dad's hometown because he ended up moving there to this little town in Long Island not long before his death. And so, I would spend time with my grandparents over there sometimes, and they loved his music. So he was always a bit of a household name to me. He was one of the set, along with Gershwin, Rodgers and Hammerstein, all the others. And so I was really passionate about bringing his music.
And you love
life.
this era of music.
I love it.
That's what
Yes.
you listen to.
Oh yeah, I'm a jazz pianist, so it's my bread and butter really. And it's so exciting to be really just focusing on this one composer that I love so much.
And what is it that fascinates you both so much of this era of music and this era of Broadway?
Well, for me, it's all about the music and its amazing potential. I mean, so much of jazz came out of this time, and it's such a sort of a romantic era, with these poor boys who were set up on Tin Pan Alley and made careers for themselves, just writing song after song. And I know, Dylan, that you love the production side of it and all these classic musicals.
Yeah, I think the exciting thing about the show is it's nostalgic. It's this beautiful nostalgic era of music, but it's music that they haven't actually heard. It's been interesting because most of the producing I do is for young people. I run youth comedy and shows. So it's been interesting going for a different age demographic, but I'm really excited to be in that space more. And yeah, I think it's very exciting to be this is the sounds that you love, the music that you love, but all the songs you've never heard.
And what are some of the challenges about writing a musical from what in many ways is a bygone era?
I mean, there's a lot of challenges on the surface of it because this stuff is so obscure and has been so hard to find. We had some lucky breaks of finding material, finding research leads, but we've really had to excavate to get to this stuff. And then after you pitched the show to me, it was cool. So we have this collection of songs. We have this historical research. We want to make it resonate with people from today. We want it to still affect modern audiences. So that's been the biggest process leading up to the rehearsal period has been okay, let's write this script, get the audience really invested, really tell his life story and come to a conclusion that everyone can kind of relate to.
Can you think of the moment when you were developing this work that it just felt like it clicked?
Ooh, Lonnie, that's a good question.
Maybe it was getting the theatre, or we went in, we're doing it at Chapel of Chapel, and we went in for a meeting and it went sitting in the space and we were just oh my gosh, this is where the show is going to be. It's going to actually happen. Because I know that we met quite recently, we met at the end of last year, but you've been working on this for years. So going from that to actually having the show be in a physical space.
I have to say, and Dylan would never say this because they're so modest, but for me it was pitching this idea to Dylan and their enthusiasm because they turned what was a collection of notes and a research project into something that's really living and dynamic. So for me, it was when Dylan told me that they thought it was a brilliant idea.
And Emerson, of course, you've trained as both a historian and a composer. How do you balance research and creativity?
Well, that's an interesting question. For me, all of the themes I really want to explore in this show are there in Wilbur's life, this fear of this anxiety about your artistic legacy, all of these questions about what goes into the daily life of an artist. That was all there. And so for me, my my creative and artistic side could kind of take a sort of a gentle backseat role to sort of curate the stuff that I was turning up from my research. Because in those times when we were able to find Wilbur's own perspective in his own words, it really spoke to exactly the kind of themes we wanted to explore. And we found it really amazingly relevant.
And I guess something interesting about history that I never really knew is like when you're working on such a niche topic, you kind of become part of the legacy and part of the history. So like this show is like the next page in his biography. Like that's something that's very special, I think.
When did your love of the Great American Songbook begin?
That goes back years and years, and I was a little kid. But I spent my COVID lockdown just at the piano 6 hours a day. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but I spent that time learning all of this music, and so it's what I live and breathe.
And you play live in the show.
That's right. I'm at the piano. We have two brilliant singers presenting the music, singing and dancing, talking about Wilbur's life. They're Carla Hillam and Jonathan Guthrie Jones, who I've worked with for some years now as part of JTM Productions. And so really they were just the natural choice for the team to bring this thing to life.
And how does it feel for you being on stage, presenting your own work to an audience? Must be an incredibly vulnerable experience.
It is rather. It's an interesting part that I play in this because I have such a back role. A backseat role, you know. I sit at the piano. I haven't written myself any lines. I just get to play, which really, honestly, it's a real joy for me because it's what I do best and it's what I really love to do. So Carla and Jono take all the pressure. They take the hard part, and I just get to listen to them sing this music.
What's a part of the forgotten songbook that feels closest to your heart?
Oh, that's a difficult question.
That's a good question. I feel like we're going to find that out as we put it on stage. Something that we were talking about on the way here was like we've been plugging away the script for a really long time, and to get it like with actors and a director is great. It's like we put everything on the page and then the director gets to take from that and actually bring it to life, which we're kind of relieved that we don't have to do now that we've done our part.
Yes.
We've got Mikey Halcrow directing and he's done lots of reviews of this nature. Like we're very excited to see it energized, like life put into it after working on the script for so long.
And Emerson, I've got to ask, what historical rabbit holes did you fall down while you were writing this?
Oh, there were so many. Did you know that, I read about all of his contemporaries to kind of get a sense for this world. And there's so many great stories about them. You know, Jerome Kern, not too well known now, but he wrote a lot of shows for Fred Astaire. He just barely missed his ticket on the Titanic because he was playing cards and he missed the boat. These people's worlds were full of all these really amazing little anecdotes.
Wilbur's kind of like if Jerome Kern had gotten onto the Titanic. Like everything kind of went wrong for him that could go wrong.
Yeah, some of it's been pretty hard to believe, to be perfectly honest. But that's what history throws up at you. It throws up at these things that are so incredible that they just have to be true.
And Dylan, you've worked on a lot of musicals as a stage manager and a producer. What makes this one different?
I think that audiences for this are going to be surprised. And you've got to come to the show and find out. We can't tell too much. I think that it kind of is in a really familiar era, of that the golden age of Broadway, but there's a lot that's unexpected, and I don't think there's going to be a single person coming out of the theatre with their expectations the same as when they walked in.
It feels to me that it's going to be very much a concert musical. How do you present that and still keep the audience engaged with the story?
Well, the narrative is Wilbur's life. You kind of get taken on this journey with him. And I think it's really nice how that has a nice relationship with the music, where the music is almost time to stop and process things. And it's like you're hearing what was happening in his life and what he was working on as you're being guided through the story.
But so much of it is Carla and Jono's charisma too. They're just brilliant at presenting this kind of material in this format.
And it helps that the songs are beautiful. I think that no matter what, and I was saying we were recording some backing tracks and I went, it doesn't matter what the script says because the music's so beautiful that even if it ends up terrible, no, it is a brilliant script. But the music just speaks for itself. I mean, it is gorgeous. It's so gorgeous.
What have been some of the production challenges so far?
Oh my goodness. It's been like a little bit of a skeleton crew. I've stage managed a lot of musicals and this is my first time producing and it's been so much fun. But it's something new. And I think so far I've anticipated every challenge. I think that's like the gift of the stage manager is like the problems are fixed before they can happen. And apart from that, it's technically very simple. It's just the case of using what we have to really make the show pop. Like we're using the basic lighting rig. What can we use? What can we move to really give each song its own character and to really just make the stage and make the performance look simple and like beautiful.
So how long did it take you to bring the concept from an original idea to the show?
Well, I can answer that one because I worked with this for quite a while, starting from that original idea before it even became a show. You know, it really just started with a research project. It was this sort of brilliant stroke of luck that I had to start finding scores that I could really work with. And that really sort of changed the whole direction of the project. And then once I started realizing that I could really tell the story of Wilbur's life, that was kind of the next step too. And it was those things coming together that sort of made me realize that really the way to present this was to make it a show and really bring out the narrative and dramatic qualities of it.
And then we probably had our first meeting like the start of this year on the show.
Yeah, that's about right.
And I read like what he had of it and I was basically like, no, I'm going to challenge you to go further and to really like make the themes really, really clear and really connect the audience and the performers and Wilbur in like a way that wasn't present. And like, it's definitely been a challenge for you. I'm like very brutally honest when I don't like something he's written, but I think that it's paid off. It's paid off because where it is now is like leagues ahead of where it was initially.
Yeah, I agree. You know, we've really uncovered Wilbur as a character, and I think that's been the most exciting part. You know, getting to know this guy who was a composer I loved, and then he was the butt of all these jokes as we found out about his bumpy career. But now he's like a friend to us.
Yeah, I was basically like. We were writing one day and I wanted to have more of like Wilbur's emotion in the show of like how would he actually feel. So I said to Emerson, like write a list of every like bad stroke of luck he had and every bad thing that happened to him and like how that might make someone feel. And you literally I got you to like write it in a Word document because I was like, this is an element that's really important because yeah, taking like injecting that history with its emotion and with its like reality. But it is almost comical of like, oh my goodness, the poor thing. Like even when he got to Broadway, it like never went well. Yeah.
Does the show say more about our past or does it say more about our current creative world?
Well, it's an interesting question because a lot of it comes from the resonances with the world of today. I mean, obviously it's a bygone era that will never come again in exactly that form, that amazing sort of geyser of creativity. But yeah, a lot of these fears are still really present for us today, and it's been a really interesting process for the two of us to explore that, and I think it's going to be a really interesting challenge for our performers as well. You know, they're creatives too. In a sense, it's sort of an older person's show because it's about these sorts of fears that you have, I think, later in your career, and which, you know, are not so pressing for us now. We're both 23. So it's going to be really interesting to see how our performers really engage with those ideas because they are quite current for anyone who wants to pursue an artistic path.
Why do you think so many artists fear being forgotten?
I think that creating art is, I mean, obviously you can create art for yourself, but having an audience and how other people interact with the art creates it. Like that idea of the 100 people who see the same painting and find different things out of it. That's what gives art its story and its meaning. And it's been something difficult to chat about because so much art is about that fear of being forgotten and that kind of idea of like, what is the meaning of what I'm creating? So coming at that from a unique angle is difficult, but we've just kind of really stuck to keeping it simple and really genuine and really taking from Wilbur's kind of story and his kind of how he felt about his career after it all, I guess.
What do you hope people are thinking about as they leave the theatre?
I hope they're thinking about telling someone else to come.
That sounds so much like a producer's answer.
I hope they like the music. You know, I hope they come away sharing my conviction that Wilbur is one of the classic songwriters.
Do you see this show and this collaboration as the beginning of an ongoing working relationship?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, we've already had our arguments about whether we're McBurnie and Hurley or Hurley and McBurnie. We settled on McBurnie and Hurley for the poster.
It's got a nicer ring to it.
Yeah, Dylan thinks it has a nicer ring to it.
Yeah, I'm not biased.
Should I step out while you finish the conversation?
No, I think so. I think it's like we bounce off each other really well. I feel like you've got the writing skill as a historian, and something very exciting as well is like Emerson is also like primarily a composer. And so like the next show we want to do is like his original music, which is very similar in style, which would be great. But it's, I think that we both like challenge each other very well. Like most of the time I'll say, why have you said this in this way? Like, why have you used this word? Why have you structured this sentence like this? And he immediately tells me why. Like they're very deliberate decisions. Or I'll say, I don't like, what are you trying to say with this? And he's like, you're right, it's not saying anything. Let's, you know.
And Dylan has this brilliant sense for structure, and they can always pick exactly what's missing or what's extraneous, and they always know just how to refine something to make it more complete and more holistic on a sort of a big picture scale, which is such a brilliant talent. Dylan's like a script doctor in our working relationship.
Yeah, it's just like we've got like the creative and the administrative covered. I feel like we found each other at the right moment to like make this show that had kind of been in your back pocket for so long. Like after a few weeks, like after I came on board and I was like, yeah, we've done this. And he was like, what, how? And I was like, this is what I do. Like I make shows happen.
Is there another forgotten style or genre that you're interested in exploring next?
Well, there's a lot of Wilbur Weissman musicals rotting away in theatre.
We've cherry-picked the best, I reckon.
We have, yeah.
Emerson doesn't like modern music. He's very old school. We couldn't do like a
contemporary
breakcore musical.
Look for if the offer's good enough, I could definitely do a contemporary musical.
Once the money starts coming in.
I'm with Dylan McBurnie and Emerson Hurley, who are the co-creators of the Forgotten Songbook, which is playing for a very short season from the 25th to the 27th of July at Chapel Off Chapel. For more info and to book tickets, visit chapeloffchapel.com.au. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming in, for sharing the journey, and all the very best for the world premiere of the Forgotten Songbook.
Yeah, thank you.